Over 20 years ago, the Pokemon franchise gave us the new region of Hoenn, accompanied by a diverse catalogue of Pokemon to train and befriend. Even to this day, sub-generation 3 Pokemon like Kyogre, Pelipper and Metagross are very present in competitive Pokemon as metagame staples, whereas others like Breloom and Shedinja have been viable if not excellent at least one point in time. Some are cherished purely for their design over their battle prowess, take for example Delcatty and Ludicolo. Even so, there are a handful of Pokemon that have failed to make themselves stand out in almost any aspect, as if they were only created for the purpose of expanding the Pokedex at that time. Those are Gen 3's filler Pokemon. But before we begin, please be sure to like and subscribe since it really helps me out a lot. Thank you. Seviper is the counterpart Pokemon to Zangoose, referencing the rivalry between Cobras and Mongooses in the real world. And I googled, it's Mongooses, not Monkeys, so don't try and correct me in the comments. Unlike Zangoose, which at least manages to set itself apart with its decent base 115 physical attack and signature ability Toxic Boost, Seviper doesn't seem to have much going for itself. Seviper is a clunky mixed attacker with 100 in each of its offenses and mediocre stats everywhere else. Its base 65 speed makes it easy to outspeed and unviable in Trick Room teams. Its defenses are pitiful to say the least, and the mixed attackers have always received the short end of the stick when it comes to competitive use, with some exceptions like Deoxys Attack and Iron Valiant. Even in earlier generations, base 100 attack and special attack is still pretty lackluster. Super effective attacks are unlikely to yield one-hit KOs, and you'll probably not hit very hard if you're investing in both offensive stats. The only purpose I'd imagine Seviper having is as a counter to Subseed, Jumpluff or Whimsicott. Seviper's hidden ability Infiltrator means its attacks ignore the effects of screen moves and Safeguard as well as bypassing Substitute, making it very useful as a counter to Jumpluff and Whimsicott, which can hit super effectively. Though its poor defenses means it still takes quite a chunk of damage from any unresisted move, Seviper crucially resists Jumpluff and Whimsicott's Grass and Fairy stat respectively, and the threat of a Sludge Wave going through Protect and securing a KO gives Seviper a small niche. Next is the Pokemon Kecleon, a pure normal type with the strangest stat distribution I've ever seen. Why does it have base 120 special defense? Why is it so unbelievably slow, and how does it have a base 90 physical attack with arms as stubby as those? So after hours of thinking and brainstorming, Game Freak employees probably decided the perfect embodiment of a specially defensive Pokemon would be a perfectly normal chameleon, hence Kecleon's existence. It does have the signature ability Color Change, which alters its type to match the last move that hits it. For example, if you hit Kecleon with a super effective Aura Sphere, it would transform to the fighting type and take neutral damage on the next turn. In short, you're giving your opponent control over your Pokemon's typing. Not exactly desirable. As you'd expect, Kecleon is mostly unviable competitively, ranking unimpressively low from PU to ZU, typically running support moves such as Stealth Rock, Toxic and Foul Play to threaten setup sweepers. This Pokemon does seem to have a single fan though, as it actually has an OU set for Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire from over 10 years ago. Here it is. Kecleon is cool and somewhat usable in OU play, with easy switch-ins on a lot of special Pokemon and the ability to screw your opponent up with moves like Trick. In UU, it can wall a ton of special hits and can attack moderately hard with that base 90 attack. I'm not sure why this article hasn't been rectified or removed from the official Smogon website, but I'm sure the Kecleon fanboy would be happy to see his hard work preserved and immortalized in the form of an unrecommended overview. Kecleon has received the ability Protein in Generation 6, which was a nice buff since it's arguably one of the best abilities in the game. Sadly, Kecleon is far too slow to utilize it well, and a single close combat or superpower would squish the poor chameleon. You could hypothetically use Shadow Sneak to get rid of that fighting type weakness before your opponent could move, and the Assault Vest item could further enhance its superb special bulk on bulky attacking sets. But Kecleon was sadly far too slow and unreliable for upper tiers. Spinda is a red panda Pokemon with a whopping base 60 in each stat, even worse than Castform, which has 70, and Fionic, which has 80. Spinda is the prime example of a Pokedex filler. Its stat distribution is lazy, its concept is unclear, and its sole gimmick is that every Spinda has a unique spot distribution over its body. Not a very compelling concept. I guess it is kind of cute, and its name is Pandir in German, which kind of sounds like panda. But aside from that, Spinda has almost nothing going for it. It can't capitalize off its splendid hidden ability Contrary, since it doesn't even get access to a stat-lowering move like Leaf Storm or Overheat. Spinda is a tragedy of a Pokemon frankly, and hopefully Mega Spinda with a base 160 speed can be its saving grace. I'm kidding. Huntail and Gorbis are pure water type Pokemon modeled after the Gulper Eel and Chimera respectively, both of which are pretty terrifying to look at. You can tell not much effort was put into their stat distributions. Huntail is your typical Gen 3 mixed attacker, which wouldn't be complete without its abysmal base 52 speed stat. Its ability Swift Swim doubles its speed in the rain, but having to rely on the weather just to be moderately fast is not a very tempting idea. Huntail's coverage options are actually fairly limited as well, which meant it often had to run Hidden Power Grass or Electric for coverage. In Generation 6, however, Huntail received the excellent setup move Shell Smash, raising its offensive stats and speed by 2 stages each and lowering its defenses by 1, which it could simply restore by holding the White Herb item. This often compensated its terrible speed without the presence of rain, and Huntail established itself as a premier setup sweeper in lower tiers. In its debut generation, Gorbis actually resided in the UU tier. Unlike Huntail, its offensive stats were more concentrated in its special attack, standing at an impressive base 114. This was nothing to scoff at in early generations. Though Gorbis suffered from similar problems to its counterpart, such as its lackluster speed and non-existent coverage moves, its base 114 special attack was nothing to scoff at, and it could further boost its damage output with the Life Orb, Mystic Water or Choice Specs item. Just like Huntail, it received a gracious buff in the form of Shell Smash in Generation 6, which it utilized to its full potential, outclassing its counterpart thanks to its better stat distribution and making it one of the most fearsome special sweepers in lower tiers. Fun fact, if you let Clampo, the pre-evolution of Huntail and Gorbis, hold the Deep Sea Tooth item, its base 74 special attack would be doubled to a colossal base 148. So the baby Poe hits even harder than both its evolutions. It's kinda crazy to think about, but also nice to know that Game Freak made sure Clampo was still usable in the base games, even if you didn't have friends to trade it and evolve it with. Take a look at Exploud stats and you'll notice a recurring pattern throughout this video. Many of these filler Pokemon happen to be slow, not very hard hitting mixed attackers, and Exploud is no exception. So let's skip over the obvious. Offensive stats, decent in early generations. Defensive stats, decent in early generations I guess. Speed, too slow to outspeed anything, too fast for Trick Room. Viable? Occasionally. In Generation 5 however, Exploud received the ability Scrappy, which let it hit ghost types with normal and fighting type moves. This was an incredible buff since in the following generation it also received the move Boom Burst, a base 140 power normal type move with no drawback, which also happens to bypass Substitute since it's exclusive to thematically sound based Pokemon like Chatot and Noivern. Additionally, Exploud was pure normal type, which meant it gained stab damage on Boom Burst, so no ghost type would even dream of switching in on a Scrappy Exploud holding the Choice Specs item. Thanks to these buffs, Exploud was kind of a one-hit wonder, even if just for a short duration. It was clearly designed to be an underwhelming Pokedex filler upon its introduction, but was given a chance to find evanescent success in later generations. Its coverage options in Fire Blast, Focus Blast, Overheat and Surf meant steel types like Cobrajan and Escavalier would think twice before switching in. Exploud played a pivotal role as a special wall breaker in Gen 6 UU, defying the traditional definitions of a filler Pokemon and making a name for itself. And that's it for the video, so if you enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe since these videos take quite a lot of time and effort to make. And sorry for not uploading for the past few months, I've really been quite busy. Thanks for watching.